All right, let's talk about FFProbe. So FFProbe is a tool that comes with FFmpeg. So while FFmpeg is the tool that allows us to edit videos, FFProbe is just a tool that allows us to look at the content or sort of the specs of a video file. So we'll go ahead and look at that and then be able to sort of like do some stuff with it once we know certain pieces about our file. So again, like FFmpeg, we don't need the GPU, so let's run this. And we should see an error message. Sure enough, there it is. Let's go ahead and connect to our Google Drive account again, because we need to process all of our videos. Go ahead and open that. Refresh, and there we are. So Drive, My Drive, Algo Film. Okay, so let's take a look at just what FFProbe gives us. I'm going to go into my downloads folder and just grab one of the videos that I've been working with. I'm going to grab that Groundhog Day file because it's a pretty small file. So I'm going to paste that content in here. So for you, whatever files you've been playing with or downloading, if you've been following my file structure, which I probably recommend, just for sanity between the two of us, open up your downloads folder, grab a video file from there, and right-click on it and hit Copy Path, and then overlay that path. So it should be like FFmpeg, FFProbe instead of FFmpeg, -I, and then your file path. And at this point, we can go ahead and hit play. And you'll see it spits out all of this data. And I'll be honest, I don't know what most of this data means. I know, I couldn't tell you what any of this stuff means. But here's a section called metadata. And inside of here, if I look, it says duration. That duration is hours, minutes, seconds, and then partial seconds. There's stuff like bitrate, which is not my forte. I don't know what that means usually. And then you'll see here there is, this might look familiar. This is our pixel format, right? So this is what we need to set for colors to make sure it reads into QuickTime correctly. I don't know what VP9 means. That might be a profile. 1920 by 1080, so that's probably dimensions, so that's helpful. 23.98 FPS, so that is our frame rate. And then a bunch of other stuff, like the fact this file was made by Google, probably because it was uploaded to YouTube Download, and I downloaded it. So we've got all this stuff. Some of it's helpful, some of it isn't. How do we actually get access to these pieces so that we can actually store them in our JSON file? Well, that's what these functions below are going to do. And again, half this stuff I Googled, and half the stuff I kind of figured out by playing with it. Basically, we use FFProbe and ask for very specific pieces of data. It gets spit back to us in a text format, which we then convert into other things, which we then can send and store. So first thing we want to do is save all these functions into our runtime so we can access them. So go ahead and hit play. And then down here, we're going to output all these pieces. So just like I copied a path, like here, let me grab a different path. Let me grab this path. And you are going to want to, inside of these quotes, paste your video file. Make sure you leave the quotes, because if you break the quotes, you're going to get issues. So leave the quotes there and paste each one of these in here. So now your video file is inside these functions, and we're just going to run this cell either by hitting Shift Return or hitting the play button. And here we go. Man, I don't know what the hell I did with this video file or where I found it. Apparently this video file has 120 FPS. That is clearly wrong and probably why I'm getting so many errors when I've tried to process this file in the past, but so it goes. Dimensions. This file is 764 by 480, which means it's pretty small, and 4.3-ish. I think 4.3 is 640 by 480. And then my duration is 5,598 and some change. So if I divide this number by 60, it is a 93-minute runtime. So this is a feature-length film. It's a pretty good one. If you've never seen Night of the Hunter, highly recommend it. But this is all of the data we got. Now, ideally, what we actually want to do is run this for every one of our clips, right? So we've been running our clips, our downloads, through Piscine Detect to generate all of our clips. And sure enough, you'll see here I've got some new clips. Now we want to run this, and we want to run that through our JSON file. So that's what we're going to do in the next step. So for our JSON file, what we're going to do is we are going to feed it our clips folder, right? So this was what we kind of did last week when we built our basic JSON data. We're going to grab our clips here. So let's grab the folder of clips, which for most of us should be the same folder structure, unless we've been going off the rails and doing our own thing, which is fine. But just make sure you copy the folder to all of your clips, and I mean all of your clips. So one thing to note is the way this is structured is it assumes that there is a folder holding all of your clips, and inside of all of this folder is a like title folder, and then inside of that are your clips. If you have a different structure, this will break, in which case you and I should chat about editing this for you. But there's sort of this like function that actually looks in that format. So that is the format you need to have in order for this to work. Now, next is you will want to load in your previously existing video clips file, right? So you're going to want to, I believe it sits at the root folder of AlgoFilm. So inside of AlgoFilm is a folder that, or a JSON file that you made last week that is video clips.json. So copy that path. Now, I'm going to go off the rails and make a new file. Don't do this because I've already run this a bunch of times to make sure it works, and I want to overwrite any of my data. So I'm actually just going to make a brand new file. Now, what I should also mention is this file now kind of supersedes the week 1 file that we made. So if you were using that week 1 to generate your JSON dataset, I'd recommend going forward only using this file to update your JSON. The reason for that is there's a bunch of additional pieces in here to basically grab the existing JSON file, double check that all the data in there is correct, and then add new data on top of it. And also, if you are adding or creating new clips, this will actually look at those new clips and create the JSON data for those new clips. So this is kind of like only use this one now, skip the week 1 one. But this will go ahead and kind of make sure all your data is in the right format, keep things together, that sort of thing. I'm going to go ahead and make a new file just because I want to overwrite any of the stuff I already did in my file. This does take a little bit of time. If you were to process, I don't know, 100 feature-length films, this might take an hour or two to process. There's probably ways to speed that up. I'm not the world's best programmer, so I'm just kind of like winging it a little bit. But it will take a little bit of time. If you have 1,000 clips, 2,000 clips, it's probably not going to take more than like 10 or 15 minutes to run, if that. So at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and hit run because this is all I need to do. Just make sure, again, that you don't have the -new. You're just using your old JSON file. We'll go ahead and hit run. And you'll see it's just going to begin to scrub through all of your files. Now, there's also a bunch of error checking in here. I think all of us have, or at least a couple people mentioned to me that PyScene Detect is generating like some broken files. I think that's because they're too short. Like FFmpeg has this weird thing where like stuff that's really short, it tends to make like corrupted files. I don't know why that is. I think it might have something to do with like the way it does keyframing and stuff. But regardless, there's likely some kludgy files inside of your format. This is actually going to go in and check to make sure it is actually processing everything correctly. And it'll skip over anything that it can't actually process. And it might actually stick some error messages in here. Like we'll see if we get an error message when we hit the next section. But you'll see it's not running that fast. What did I say it? Did I say it how long it takes up here? I didn't. So it looks like it's doing about 50 files a minute. So, you know, do the math there. If you've got 2,000 files and it takes 50 per minute, it's going to take 40 minutes to do. So, you know, not the fastest, but it does work. And this will just, again, generate a JSON file for us. That's pretty much all you need to do for this notebook. Now, one thing I want to mention is while you're generating your JSON file, if you want to view your JSON file, it's actually really hard to view this thing. It kind of looks like garbage data. When you open this in Colab, you double click on it, it's just a bunch of stuff here. What I recommend we do, I'll post the link to this file in our syllabus or this website. Just Google prettify JSON. And click on the first link, and you'll see this thing that says load data. And actually, it's already preloaded in my data from, wait, that's not right. Okay, load data. And let me download this file. So you can go ahead and download this JSON file. So go ahead and hit download. It'll say, where should I save this? You'll just save it to your desktop, and it'll be messy like me. And you'll replace your file, and there it is. And then you'll come back over to this JSON pretty, and you'll go hit load data, and you'll hit upload file, and you will upload this JSON file. And you'll close out all the annoying ads they have here, and you'll see on the left-hand side is all the ugly, garbagey, like, non-white space data. And on the right-hand side here, you'll see what we're starting to grab. Now, I've gone ahead and already ran some of the shot type stuff we're going to talk about at the end of these tutorials. But for now, the important things to look at are the following. So what you're seeing is what we built last week was just this. So we gave every JSON file a key, which is the file name, the base file name, and then we generated the path to every file. Now, what we've added just now are these three categories. We've added dimensions, duration, and FPS. So dimensions are now put in as essentially an array. So this is the width, the height. The duration is passed in. This should not be passed in as a string. Whatever, it's fine. We end up post-processing it as a float. This is a floated number where it is in the seconds. So this clip is 1 second and a little bit of change. The frames per second here are 23.98, which means it's a weird video format, whatever. It's basically 24. We'll get to talking about these two numbers in our last tutorial this week. But for the moment, all we're doing is we're building this up. And you'll see now that I've got about 2,000 clips here. And you'll see that for each one of these, I have generated all of this data. Now, the next video we're going to look at is actually going to play with these duration numbers, where we're going to go and grab all these duration numbers. Now, why would we save all this data into this file instead of like running it every time we actually run a script? Well, the reason is some of this stuff, like when we get to talking about, some of these don't even have the shot type in them yet. When we get to talk about shot type, it turns out that to process one video takes like a handful of seconds, which is a really long time. So if we want to process this data every time we run our scripts across these things, it takes a little bit of time, and we also have to use a GPU to power them. It's better to run it once and store the data and then re-access it later. That's why we're all writing all this stuff to a JSON file. So what we're also doing with the class data set is at some point, I will hopefully merge all of our JSON files together into like one big massive JSON file that we can then work on together as a class. That'll be like week 6 or 7 when we get there, but that's kind of where I'm headed with this stuff. So if you haven't uploaded data to the class folder yet, that's totally fine. Honestly, you might not need to until week 3 or 4 because we're going to keep iterating on this. So actually, I told people to upload it already, but maybe we don't need to because you're going to want to overwrite it. So anyway, this is what we're building. This is why we're building this data set, because as we add more and more categories to this thing, it's going to basically give us the data to process and do really crazy combinatorial things with all this stuff. That's where we're headed, just so you know. So you'll see this is still running. That's okay. Run it for as long as you need to. It might if you get an error message, let me know what the error message is. I've hopefully written in enough stuff in here to like overprocess or like basically skip anything that throws error messages. But if you do get one, let me know and maybe we can figure out why that is. The other thing I should note is that if you run this multiple times, it will hopefully not overwrite the data. It once said stay something like, oh, actually, this is not. Yeah, okay. There is some catches in here to make sure that if the file has already been written to, that you don't do it again. So essentially, if you already have captured the video's dimensions, you're not doing it a second time. Again, that just saves us time. So this hopefully will be able to be run over and over and over again. So this week, you might want to go in and use PyScene Detect to generate more video files. Maybe you go and upload like an actual like full-length feature film, cut that up using PyScene Detect, and then you can run this exact same notebook again. And it will skip over all the stuff it's already grabbed and only grab the new things it needs to. The idea is that we can update this over and over and over again without like having to reprocess all the data over and over again. Again, not the world's best programmer. I hope I'm doing this right. In my testing so far, it's worked well. Let me know if you're running any issues. So again, I would definitely recommend like getting more video data. It's just more fun to play with more data. So grab more stuff from YouTube DL, go shoot some stuff, whatever. It's just more fun to have more data to play with. And we're going to start working at scale with these tools to be able to access all these things. What else do I want to say? Oh, if you work with a feature-length film, know that PyScene Detect takes a decent amount of time to actually process that. So I've noticed when I upload like a 2-hour film, it takes about 3 hours to process in PyScene Detect. Now that's okay because PyScene Detect is pretty cheap in terms of computation power, and you can run it, and it's like you can run it overnight. When it stops, it'll wait like 15 minutes and just shut off your Colab for you. Not that expensive, so it's probably fine to do that. But just give yourself the time to do that. So don't wait until Sunday night when you want to start the next lesson. Don't try to process more film. So I would say almost like today, pause these recordings and process some more film while you watch the rest of them. But do go and process more video because, again, it's just more fun to have weird, like, grab random stuff. Like, I love that some people have been, like, going very narrow or saying, like, I'm only going to work off this data. Just go grab a bunch of stuff because it's more fun to play with random things and see how they get combined. And going forward, we'll be able to filter out various, like, you'll be able to say, only grab from these video sets, like, only grab, like, these colors, like, these sort of things. But yeah, more data is always better, and it's just more fun to play with. So that wraps up this notebook. What we're going to look at next is how to actually use this data that we're pulling from JSON and actually play with duration, dimensions, and other things. So I will see you next time.